All right, so we're going to talk about the government shutdown, how it's going to impact the markets overall. We're going to talk about the U.S. Supreme Court, Trump's administration trying to fire Fed Speaker Lisa Cook, and how that can also impact the markets. And then dive deep into today's ADP employment data and what we should be looking for moving forward. Okay, guys, so hopefully this video helps you. I know you guys like charts. I'm gonna do a video later on for you guys looking at trade ideas as well moving forward. And I want you guys to like and subscribe, okay? Because I also go live as well, and I don't want you guys to miss out on the live calls, the live streams that I do. So make sure you put that notification bell as well, okay? And lastly, have a free course for you guys, okay, that you could start understanding the importance of fundamentals. So link is in the bio and also going to be in the description, all right? So when you press that link, sign up. And if you want to join the private group so you can get deeper into understanding fundamentals, trading live with me to speed up your process and start becoming profitable finally, right? Join the private group, okay? So join the private group, press the link. Let's change lives, okay? So starting out with the government shutdown. This is very big. Whole entire markets is focusing on the shutdown. But just to tell you guys, don't look at a 30-second reel. Understand, they do this all the time, right? The government they always do these government shutdowns when they can't come into an agreement on a bill, right? They do it purposely. But the problem with today's government shutdown is the timing, right? Because it's gonna impact the Fed's next decision, right? Because the Feds are really focused on this next NFP print, right? Because it's going to impact the next rate decision. They already cut rates last month. So if this NFP number does come out lower, right, that would increase the odds of a 50 basis point cut. That's what everybody wants. They want the Feds to cut rates, right? Weakens the dollar. We've been seeing equities hitting all-time highs, right? We've been seeing gold going extremely bullish. But what if the job numbers is strong? That's not what they want, because that's going to allow the Federal Reserve to continue to pause interest rates, right? So that's also a concern for people, because higher rates, right, is bad for businesses, it's bad for companies. If we somehow get a strong NFP print, we're going to see the opposite reaction. We're going to see dollar gain strength, and we're going to see equities push lower. Okay, guys? So just to give you guys an understanding of that. So what's going to happen next? The government shutdown impacts private payrolls. So we're not going to get, supposedly, we're not going to get an NFP number if nobody's at work, right? Plus, they're shut down. So it's going to impact the number. What we have to focus on after that, the shutdown we know is temporary, but when they come back to work, so that means the numbers that we're getting now could also be revised in the future. So an example, if the labor numbers now is higher, right, there's a possibility once they get back into work, those numbers can get revised lower. Or then the opposite, the numbers could be extremely bad. Then once they get back to work, get the real numbers, right, the numbers could actually be better than what they previously thought. And then we can see the markets recover because of that, okay? So that's another caveat that not a lot of people is going to be teaching you or telling you, which could help you out moving forward. So now today, speaking on the Fed, Donald Trump trying to fire Lisa Cook, right? The Federal Reserve, she's a Federal Reserve speaker. She works for the Feds, right? So the headline just came out that the Supreme Court is not going to actually move forward with firing Lisa. So we saw gold spike lower because of that. Why is that, right? Because the Feds are independent. So they don't want government, like the government entity, to come in and make choices on who could stay, who could go, or telling them when they should cut rates or when they should hike, right? That causes a lot of instability, because the Federal Reserve's goal is price stability. They don't care about anything else but in trying their best to bring inflation numbers back to target, bring in inflation rate decision, the numbers for rates back to target. That's all they care about. The government, they have their own agenda, right? So they'll do things for more of a selfish ambition. So if the White House could get involved with firing somebody, that causes uncertainty, not just for the US, but that could be uncertainty globally, right? And that was the reason why, another reason that helped gold buys was when they was talking about firing a Fed speaker, right? That causes uncertainty. We see equities push lower because of that. We could see gold safe haven pairs gaining strength. But what happened today that the Supreme Court says they're not going to move forward with it, right? That caused gold to push lower. That's why we saw that spike lower that happened randomly. It was because of that headline that came out, saying that causes stability back, gives feds that breathing room, giving them back that independence, all right? So that's just to help you guys out in the future understanding that. So now let's jump into today's ADP employment. We lost it was minus 32,000 jobs, right? It was worse than expected. A very, very bad print, right? So market reactions right away was dollar sells. That's what we took advantage of over the live call. Dollar weakness was the easiest bet, all right? But then that caused a dovish reaction, which why equity markets like US 30, NASDAQ, S&P 500 hit an all-time highs, because this data coming out lower the way that it did increases the odds of more rate cuts, okay? Traders are now going to start pricing in 2 more rate cuts this year because of that print. So now moving forward, right, we want to see that continuation happen. If we do get weaker job numbers, or if we continue to see weaker growth numbers, that is going to give the odds of maybe we could see a 50 basis point cut actually start increasing up, right? So the only way I could see that, you know, moving away from a dovish expectation is if we get higher inflation, right? But so far, if inflation is still heading to target, that should still allow the feds to continue to cut rates and stay in the path that they're on, okay? So this is what allows weaker dollar. This is what helps gold buys. This is what helps equity buys, okay? It's because of data coming in lower than expected the way that it did. All right, guys, so moving forward, right? If you're catching those trades, good job, okay? Wait for the next economic data print. Move forward, paying attention to these news headlines about the government shutdown. It's a possibility if they end up, if the shutdown is not as long as what they expected, or they do come into some sort of an agreement, right? We could possibly see gold, if gold hasn't pushed lower, if gold spikes higher, we could possibly see gold push lower to recover the move. But if they do open back up, I don't expect that to be like a risk on market. It's a possibility. Look at the reactions. We could get a risk on market, but the fact that this government shutdown, they do this all the time. So markets don't really care because it's political, right? It's not market moving. It's just more politics, right? So it just makes it a lot easier once all of this news just pass away, so we can just focus on economic data and focus on news. Okay, guys? Hopefully this video helps you guys. Remember, share, like, please, for the algorithm. And if you continuously like these videos, give me a subscribe. And remember, share with another trader. Like the video, please. Have a good one.